subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. Zrala's scream echoed through hallway C of docking sector 9, like a plasma bomb had gone off in someone's shower. She stumbled backward out of room 114B, her clawed feet scraping the polished floor, eyes wide with horror, her long indigo head tendrils thrashing in all directions. The neighbors peeked from their units. A small Glarn child dropped his fruit puff and began crying. It moved. Zrala shrieked, pointing a trembling finger back into the room between his legs. Like a mini Shahulid, God help us, it had teeth. The security AI instantly sent red alerts through the comms. Lights flickered to yellow, warning across the station. 4 armed enforcers, all from different species, appeared in seconds with plasma prods drawn. They surrounded the entrance to the small unit, expecting a parasite, a smuggled creature, maybe even an invasive biomech. What they found instead was a human. Hi, said the young man standing by the sink, brushing his teeth with an old-school plastic toothbrush. No weapons, no armor, no threat, just one towel. And unfortunately, it wasn't wrapped tight enough. Zavala's voice cracked as she pointed again. That thing between his legs. It twitched like a sandworm pup. It even glared at me. The human blinked. He looked down, then covered himself quickly with the towel. Holy crap, lady. You barged in without knocking. Ever heard of privacy? Q-Tal, a 4-eyed insectoid with a permanently furrowed brow, turned to Kerala. Explain, clearly. What exactly did you see? Zara puffed her chest, still trembling. A serpent, but not mechanical, flesh, veined. It glared with hidden sentience. Ma'am, Q-Tal said, clicking his mandibles. That's called a penis. All human males have one. A pause. Then, a stunned silence. Zrala blinked rapidly, as if trying to reboot her mind. You mean? She whispered. This is standard, very much so. Zrala's tendrils dropped in humiliation, but it looked like it wanted to fight me. Q-Tal shrugged. Perhaps it was startled. You did break into his room. A few awkward coughs passed among the enforcers. The human, meanwhile, was quietly dying inside. Ethan Davis, age 27. Earthborn if Earth still counted, was just trying to survive, on rent-controlled corners of the galaxy. Being screamed at by an alien landlady for accidental exposure wasn't on his Monday list. He mumbled, I just wanted a hot shower and 3 hours of sleep. 3 hours earlier Ethan had landed on Parvex Station 2 days ago, the cheapest stop before the Dead Crescent route. His freighter job paid little, but docked him credits for every delay. He needed a room. Fast. Corolla had been the only landlord crazy enough to rent to a human. Most stations either feared humans, mocked them, or thought they were extinct. But Zrala, a hard-nosed Thalaxi widow, had just one rule: no lies, smuggling, and no mating rituals under my roof. Got it. Ethan nodded, smiled awkwardly, and signed the lease. It wasn't much, 1 bunk, cold water, patchy neural net access, but it was peaceful, or so he thought. The dreams had started the first night. Golden sands, wind like a whispering god, massive stone rings half buried in the desert, and beneath it all, a thrum-like, something alive, sleeping. Ethan would wake up breathless, sweat on his brow, palms tingling with static. He didn't know why. POF presents. Ethan sat on the station bench. Now, in a full jumper, sipping lukewarm tea. Zrala sat across from him, silent. Her face was flushed in shades of purple humiliation, perhaps, or confusion. Look, Ethan began, I didn't mean to scare you. Zrala scowled. Your biology, it's abnormal, aggressive. Ethan chuckled dryly. Welcome to the human condition. Zrala looked away, but her eyes betrayed something more. Not just discomfort, recognition. Where are you from? She asked suddenly. Earth, originally. Her eyes narrowed. That planet is quarantined. No known native life remains. Ethan shrugged. My family's been drifting for 3 generations. Earth's just a ghost in textbooks now. Zrala leaned forward slowly. Do you dream? Ethan froze. What? In sleep. Visions, symbols you can't explain. A place you've never seen, but feel belongs to you. His throat went dry. Yeah, why? Zrala stood. Come, there's someone you need to meet. Deep below the station, sublevel Theta. Zrala led Ethan through back tunnels and service shafts, past rusted doors labeled in 3 extinct languages. Finally, they entered a hexagonal chamber, lit by amber lamps and filled with dry air. A single figure waited in the center, cloaked, her face hidden behind a cracked obsidian mask. "You brought him." The masked alien spoke. Her voice was soft, but the metal floor vibrated with each syllable. Zarala nodded. "He bears the mark." Ethan stepped back. "Hey, hold on, what's going on?" The figure extended a hand. In her palm sat a smooth, black stone etched with glowing red spirals. The moment Ethan looked at it, his spine arched in pain. Images blasted into his mind: towering cities buried in dunes, fire raining from orbit, giant serpentine machines coiling beneath temples of bone and glass. And then, a phrase: world binder seed detected. Core protocol active. He fell to his knees, gasping. The cloaked figure whispered, "He doesn't know what he is." Zarala nodded gravely. "But he's dreaming. The blood remembers." Ethan coughed. "What the hell are you people talking about?" The cloaked one knelt. "Your body carries a legacy buried for millennia. Not in your flesh, but in your seed. The organ I mistook for a sandworm. It is not just for reproduction. It is a biokey, an ancient tool. One the galaxy buried out of fear." Added quietly, "Your ancestors weren't weak. They were dangerous, too adaptable, too fertile, too awake." Ethan stood slowly, his breath shaky. "You're saying humans weren't wiped out? We were locked away." The cloaked figure stood. "And now, one of you dreams again. That means the lock is breaking." Elsewhere, aboard a black dreadnought from Tarvek Station, aboard a silent Federation vessel cloaked in black energy, a creature stirred, a pale being with no face, only slits for breath, and a brain made entirely of telepathic tissue, lifted its head. It felt something, a tremor across the neural web of old stars. A seed had activated. The creature turned to its underlings. "Prepare the purge protocol. Humanity must not rise again." Back at the station, Ethan sat in silence, mind reeling. Zarala placed a hand on his shoulder, not as a landlord, but as someone who had just realized she was part of something far bigger than rent and regulation. "You thought your body was just human," she said softly. He nodded, dazed. She smiled faintly. "But it's ancient tech, and that mini sandworm you're embarrassed of, it might just hold the key to a forgotten empire." Ethan looked up. "Then, I want answers." The cloaked figure turned away, then prepared to return to the sands where it all began. Ethan Davis couldn't sleep, not after what he'd seen. Kerala had taken him to that strange, cloaked figure in the sublevels, a priestess or oracle. He still wasn't sure. They'd shown him a glowing stone that triggered visions in his mind so intense it felt like his own brain had cracked open. Cities in sand, machines like gods, a voice whispering, "World binder, seed detected." What the hell was a world binder, and why was it tied to that? Ethan sat on the edge of his bunk in silence. The room was still the same cramped, cold metal box he'd rented, same flickering light, same air vent that buzzed every few minutes. But now, everything feels different. Like the walls were breathing, like he was being watched not by someone, but by the past. Outside his door, Zarala paced the hallway. Her claws clicked softly on the station's old floor panels. She hadn't told Ethan everything, couldn't, not yet. But the truth was simple. He wasn't a mistake, he was a trigger. Long ago, when humans first spread into the stars, they weren't just explorers. They were architects of biological dominance. The Thalaxi archives called them the fire starters, a species that adapted so fast, other empires couldn't control them. But one day, they just vanished. Or so the galaxy believed. In reality, the Federation initiated something called the Lockdown Protocol. Every human was stripped of key genetic activators. Only a few select bloodlines were allowed to live, but without memory of who they truly were. Now Ethan had reactivated. And that meant one thing. The lock was breaking. Inside Ethan's mind, the dream again. He stood in an endless golden desert, beneath a black sun that never moved. The sand shifted beneath his feet like it was alive. Ruins surrounded him, buildings buried chest deep, leaning like drunk ghosts. He walked toward a massive stone door half buried in dunes. Symbols glowed on its surface. Only the seed shall wake the core. His hand moved on its own. As it touched the door, a shock ran through him. His bones hummed. His blood felt loud. Suddenly, a deep voice thundered. "Ethan Davis, descendant of line Theta Z. Authorization detected. Initiating memory merge." He screamed as thousands of fragmented images exploded into his skull. A woman with glowing red eyes. giving birth in a cave, a planet with 3 moons falling into a black hole, machines digging tunnels into stars, his own face, older, speaking before a massive crowd of aliens, and finally, himself, split in two, one in the sand, one in space. He jolted awake, sweating and gasping. Later that morning, Zrala returned to his room. Your dreams are intensifying, aren't they? Ethan rubbed his temples. It's like they're not dreams, they're memories I never lived. Zrala nodded. The priestess says it's a merge. Your body is syncing with your ancestral line. Ethan scoffed. And what that means, I'm some chosen one. Zrala didn't answer right away. Instead, she handed him a small, metallic cube. What's this? A biokey. It reacts only to worldbinder DNA. If it opens in your hands, we'll know. Ethan raised an eyebrow but took the cube. It was warm. Instantly, lines of light raced across it, like veins. The metal unfolded, transforming into a flat holographic map. A deep robotic voice spoke. User recognized. Davis, Ethan, Protocol 7, active. Final reclamation path. Initiated. Zr stepped back, her face pale. By the gods. The map hovered between them. It showed a series of ancient planets, all marked with red X's, destroyed, quarantined, or lost. Only one glowed green. Desma, OX, dormant seed world. Ethan pointed. Where is that? Zrala gulped. Deep in the crescent void. No ship dares go near it. It's said to be haunted. He stared at it. Then, that's where I'm going. Meanwhile, Federation Command, high orbit, high above, a blue gas giant, a silver fortress ship drifted silently. Inside, Commander Erix of the Galactic Purity Division stood before a council of flickering alien faces. All cold, all watching. Seed. Activation confirmed, Erix said, clicking his tongue. Human designation, Ethan Davis, currently located on Tarvex Station. One of the elders hissed. Why has he not been neutralized? We didn't know he existed. His bloodline was buried in a forgotten sector. Mistake in the purge records. Another voice, more ancient. Then rectify the mistake. If the seed reaches Decimo X, we lose everything. Erix bowed. Purge fleet dispatched. Back on Tarvex Station. Zrala stared at Ethan. Do you know what you're saying? Desma isn't just dead, it's cursed. Every probe that went near, it vanished. Ethan looked down at his hand, the cube still glowing softly. I don't think it'll kill me. I think it's been calling me. Zrala hesitated. If you go, I will go with you. Ethan blinked. You're serious? She nodded. I was the one who screamed at your mini Shihulad. The least I can do is help you find out what it really is. He smiled. You're a strange landlady. Zrala smirked. You're a stranger species. Before departure, secrets and goodbyes, the cloaked priestess met them once more before they left. This time, she removed her mask. Her face was old, cracked skin, eyes like molten silver. I was once human too, she whispered. Ethan froze. You, but not as you are. I was born from the seed, but my line failed. You are the last direct vessel. Ethan felt a lump in his throat. What happens if I reach the core? Then you unlock it. And the truth about human extinction becomes undeniable. The galaxy will either accept it or burn trying to erase it. She leaned in close. Remember, the desert in your dreams is real. It holds everything we lost. The journey begins. Zrala used her contacts to arrange a stolen mining vessel, slow but shielded from most scans. They set off toward the dead crescent. Ethan sat by the viewport, watching stars blur past. For the first time in his life, he felt like he had a direction, one he didn't choose, but one that felt. Rightzzrala brought him water. How's the head? Still full of sand. She laughed softly. Good means, you're on the right path. He nodded, then looked at her. Why are you helping me, really? Zrala looked away for a second, then back. My grandmother was part of the original team that helped lock away your kind. She thought she was saving the galaxy. But before she died, she said, one day, a seed will rise. And we must protect him even from ourselves. Ethan swallowed. Then let's find out what she meant. Meanwhile, Federation Dreadnought Erix stood over a hologram of Ethan's ship. Target acquired. Lock coordinates. His ship glided like a phantom through subspace. Ready, the disintegration lance. We'll end this before he reaches orbit. Ethan's ship approaching Desmo. Alarms blared. Zrala jumped from her seat. Federation vessel detected. They're targeting us. Ethan clenched his fists. Of course they are, Zrala shouted. We have one jump left straight into Desmo's gravity field. If we miss, we're vapor. Then we don't miss. He grabbed the biokey and slammed it into the ship's console. Instantly, the interface fused into his hand. The ship's systems turned blue. Alien glyphs replaced Federation code. What the Srala gasped. I think it recognizes me, Ethan muttered. The ship jolted forward faster than physics. A loud dot, and then everything went white. Desma OX planetfall. The ship landed hard on a sea of sand, but no damage. Outside, towering ruins glimmered under the twin suns. Everything looked exactly like his dreams. The door opened. Warm wind hit Ethan's face. He stepped out slowly, barefoot on the sand. It didn't burn. It welcomed him. From far below the dunes, something stirred, something massive. Watching Dismo X wasn't dead. It was dreaming. And now that Ethan had touched its sand, that dream was turning into something dangerously real. The sand under his feet pulsed. Srala stood behind him, blaster drawn, her mandibles slightly flared in unease. The wind was too warm, too rhythmic, like it carried a heartbeat. Ethan, she muttered, there's something alive under this planet, something old. He didn't respond. His eyes were fixed on the structure in front of them, a monolith, partially buried, covered in glowing lines of crimson and deep gold, exactly like in his dreams. He took a step forward. Instantly, the ground beneath his feet shifted, but it wasn't an earthquake. It felt intentional, like the planet was acknowledging him. From the corner of his eye, he saw Srala freeze. Don't move, she hissed. He turned slowly. Behind her, the sand had risen. Something massive stirred, just beneath the surface. Then it stopped. Srala exhaled shakily. Whatever it is, it's watching us. Inside the monolith once they stepped through the broken archway of the ancient ruin. The atmosphere changed. It was colder. The air hummed with electrical tension. Walls pulsed faintly like veins. Ethan touched one. It responded. Lines of energy crawled across the wall, forming ancient glyphs that rearranged into something he could understand. Welcome, seed of core blood. Prepare for the interface. Suddenly, the floor under him lit up. A platform rose from the ground, sleek and metallic, yet breathing. Srala stepped back, her blaster raised again. This tech, it's biosentient. This isn't just ruins. This whole place is alive. Ethan stood still as the platform scanned him. Worldbinder, confirmed. Activating memory chain alpha. He gasped. A rush of visions hit him. A time when humans weren't scattered but united. Entire cities grow from bioarchitecture, speaking in light and scent. Children trained not to fight, but to terraform. Genetic lines carefully bred to reshape worlds. A faction of humans, the core architects that created seed units. Humans like Ethan, built to carry the blueprints of planetary balance within their DNA. Then came the war. The rest of the galaxy feared them. Allies betrayed them. The lockdown protocol was enacted. Millions executed. The remaining few scattered, bloodlines buried. But one line was preserved, the last lockbreaker. And that line was Ethan. Above, in orbit, the hunter arrives. The Federation dreadnought shimmered into view. Above Desmo X's orbit, cloaked but not invisible. Commander Irix grinned cruelly. Life signs confirmed. The seed is on the surface. A soldier approached. Shall we fire the disintegration lance? Irix raised a clawed finger. No. Not yet. If we destroy him now, we risk losing the core records forever. We must retrieve the key, his body. He turned. Send the retrieval unit, alive, and bring the sand suppressors back on Dismo X. Revelation Depentralis stared at Ethan. Your dreams were messages, embedded memory chains. They waited until your body matured enough to understand. Ethan nodded, sweat on his brow. They didn't just hide us. They erased our history, locked it into our genes, and buried the keys in ancient tech. He looked around, and this monolith, one of the keys. Suddenly, the floor opened beneath them. They slid down a tunnel of soft, flesh-like walls, eventually landing in a vast underground chamber filled with floating capsules. In each pod, human bodies. Frozen. Preserved. Z. Single quotes are al agasped. There, like you, a hologram appeared, a human woman, dressed in ceremonial armor made of light thread and bone. To the one who wakes, the projection said, you are the last viable lockbreaker. If you have reached this point, it means the galaxy remains enslaved to fear, and that our blood has survived. Your task is simple. Awaken the core. Use the seed within your body. It is not just reproductive, it is restorative. Your flesh is the code. Zrala blinked. The mini sandworm is a biological interface. Ethan gave a half smirk. Guess it's more than just awkward anatomy. The enemy descends outside, in the open sands of Desmo X. Black-clad Federation soldiers landed silently. Their boots sank into the dunes as they deployed suppression fields, tech designed to nullify old-world energy signals. Inside the chamber, Ethan suddenly clutched his head. The energy around the room began to flicker. The pods pulsed erratically. Ran to him. "What's wrong?" They single quotes Shutting it down, he gasped. "They're jamming the field." One of the pods sparked and exploded. A voice echoed from the chamber walls. "Warning, external corruption detected. Vital memories at risk." Ethan's hands glowed faintly. He looked at Kirilla. "I have to interface directly. If I don't restore the chain now, we lose it all." She nodded, and then turned. "Blaster ready. I'll hold them off." Memory link initiated. Defen stepped into the central pedestal. Tendrils of light wrapped around his arms, chest, and spine. They pulsed, reading his DNA, syncing his neural pathways. Suddenly, he was standing in space, not literal space, but a memory echo. Not literal space, but a memory echo. Around him floated dozens of ancient humans, all like him, glowing with inner light. One stepped forward. "You are the last of the core blood. We preserve our knowledge in you." "Why me?" Ethan asked. "Why not someone stronger, smarter?" The echo smiled. "Because you're forgotten, and only the forgotten can bring truth without corruption." Behind him, the stars formed a spiral dot at the center. Earth, but not as it is now. Green, alive, and full of cities built like living temples. "You must return," the voice said. "Not to conquer, but to unlock it." Karila's fight outside the chamber. Zrala opened fire. Federation troops returned with sonic disruptors. She ducked, rolled, and fired 3 more shots. One trooper screamed as a sandworm reel this time, burst from beneath and swallowed him whole. Zrala blinked. Well. Guess the planet's really awake now. She grinned darkly and switched to plasma rounds. The awakening inside, Ethan's body pulsed with energy. The chamber reacted. The pods began to open. 1, 2, 3. Humans stepped out, dazed but breathing. The hologram spoke again. "Core protocols restored. Phase 2 ready." Zrala ran in, blood on her cheek, blaster sizzling. "They're falling back. I think the worms scared them." Ethan stepped off the pedestal. The room lit up with blue light. "I remember now," he said. Zrala looked around at the waking humans. "So what's next?" Ethan pointed upward. "We returned to the stars, and we showed them humanity didn't die." Orbit Commander Erix retreats, watching his soldiers fail. Commander Erix slammed a fist onto the console. "Abort mission. Fall back." "But sir, we were too late. The core is awake. If we stay, we die." His ship shimmered and vanished. 1 day later, beneath the surface, the ancient chamber beneath Desmos sands pulsed with soft blue light. It had taken Ethan hours to recover after the core interface. His body still felt raw, not from pain, but from change. His muscles ached like they were being rewritten. The others, those awakened from the pods, moved like newborns, confused, slow, and instinctively drawn to Ethan like iron to magnet. Zrala observed them from the side of the chamber, her blaster holstered, her brow furrowed. "These people, they don't remember who they are," she muttered. Ethan nodded. "They will." The merge was only partial. Their minds need time to connect. Zrala crossed her arms. "And you?" "I don't have the luxury of time," Ethan replied, staring at the swirling glyphs floating above the core pedestal. "Dima's memory is incomplete. I need the whole link." Zrala hesitated. She glanced at him, then stepped closer. "You could die," she said flatly. Ethan shrugged. "I've already survived screaming landladies, a Federation death squad, and half-digested dreams of a dying planet. What's a little more insanity?" Zrala gave a dry chuckle. "You humans really are insane, but effective." The chamber first contact. The group descended into a newly revealed chamber, circular, organic in structure, with no doors or walls, just flowing lines of soft flesh-like material, warm to the touch. At the center, a floating orb pulsing with green-gold light. The moment Ethan stepped inside, the orb reacted. Glyphs spiraled outward. A voice, familiar yet alien, echoed in his mind. "Neural key confirmed. Ethan Davis, initiating full core merge. Ethan's knees buckled. Zrala moved to grab him, but the floor lifted him gently, suspending him in the air like a cocoon. His eyes rolled back. He was gone. Inside the dream world, the true desert. Ethan opened his eyes into a desert that wasn't made of sand but data. Particles of light swirled around dunes shaped by thought. The sky was cracked like glass, and beyond it, he saw stars blinking like memories. A figure stood ahead, tall, human, glowing with internal fire. Long robes shimmered with symbols. Ethan couldn't read but understood anyway. "You've entered the bindscape," the figure said, "where the minds of the ancients live on." "Who are you?" Ethan asked. "I'm your ancestor. The first of the lock breakers, before the purge, before the betrayal, before the sand was turned against us." The dream desert shifted. The wind howled like a dying god. Memories from a dead empire. Thon saw flashes again. The Council of Core Builders, a circle of humans standing in a living tree ship, designing new worlds with just a drop of blood. Other species bowed to the balance they maintained, not out of fear, but respect. Then came the sundering. The other civilizations began to fear how fast humans adapted. Fear turned to politics. Politics turned to extermination. Allies betrayed them. Entire generations burned. Then, the memory twisted. A voice screamed from the sky. The seed must never rise again. And the bindscape shattered. Ethan's trial. He fell into blackness. Alone. A voice followed him. His own voice, but twisted. "You are just a carrier. A relic. You weren't meant to lead. You're weak." Then monsters. Formless. Made of regret, fear, insecurity. They chased him through his own memories. A father he never knew. A mother who worked 2 jobs just to feed him. Bullies who called him nobody. A galaxy that labeled humans extinct. They clawed at him. "You're nothing." But then, a light voice, distant, fierce. "Ethan, you're stronger than this." He turned, growled, and faced the monsters. "I'm not nothing," he whispered. "I'm the lock." And with a single thought, he rewrote the landscape. The fear dissolved. The desert returned. But now, it glowed gold, full of clarity. Meanwhile, Zrala stand outside the chamber. The other humans began waking, not just physically, but mentally. One woman began speaking a language no one knew, but Ethan would. Another male stretched, his skin emitting faint heat pulses, his DNA reacting. Zrala watched them, stunned. "They're not soldiers," she muttered. "They're architects." A holographic console lit up. One of the figures touched it, and shifted it with their thought. Carola's jaw dropped. They can manipulate biomachinery without touching it. Back in the mind, the final Mergithan now stood before a massive door. More symbols, more tests. But this time, he didn't hesitate. He stepped through, and there it was. The memory of the core, a swirling star of condensed knowledge and genetic truth. He reached out. "I accept who I am." It flooded him. The songs of terraforming, the codes of planetary rhythm, the emotional language of bonding with sentient flora, the exact structure of human DNA built for harmony, not domination. And a single word: return. Waking, Ethan gasped. He shot upright, surrounded by glowing runes, floating symbols around his head. His eyes no longer just brown, now rimmed with golden circuitry. Zrala ran in. "You did it. You survived." Ethan looked at her, then smiled faintly. "Not just survived. I remembered everything." The other humans bowed instinctively. Ethan helped them rise. "We don't bow anymore," he said. "We build." Rebirth of a species. The humans began repairing Desma, or rather, guiding it to repair itself. Vines regrew into structures. Sands cleared paths to underground temples. Zrala watched, stunned. "They're rebuilding this world with memory." Ethan turned to her. "This planet was always alive. It just needed us to remember the rhythm." He looked up at the stars. "They'll come back," he said quietly. "The Federation, they'll want to kill us before the rest of the galaxy finds out we're alive." Zrala smirked. "Let them come." Meanwhile, a council in Panikin, a hidden quadrant, the Galactic Federation's emergency council, sat in chaos. "They've reactivated Humans are reawakening. Contact the Purge Command." One of the elders, older than most moons, whispered. "If the seed returns to Earth, we lose control of the stars." The stars above Desmo X weren't quiet anymore. They shimmered, shifted, some blinking in patterns, like a heartbeat echoing through space. But only one species alive could recognize it for what it truly was. a signal, a pulse, a memory, and to Ethan Davis, it felt like a forgotten song from the marrow of his bones. It was Earth, calling back. 1 week later, Desma's awakening. The planet was changing, not being terraformed, that was too artificial a word. Desma was healing itself. Ancient roots twisted up through ruins, forming smooth walkways and nutrient hubs. Buildings of biofiber grew into spires, each one shaped by the will of the reawakened. Humans, the core, had fully synced with Ethan and the seedlines, and now the lost legacy of humanity was growing, again not through war, but design, and Desma welcomed it all. Ethan stood on a balcony that hadn't existed a week ago. Wind caressed his face like it recognized him. Zrala joined him, holding a clay mug of thick, spiced root tea. "This planet listens to you," she said softly. "No," Ethan replied, smiling faintly. "It listens to us." He gestured toward the builder's former stasis pod, humans, now humming in rhythm with vines and stone. Even the air had changed. More oxygen, fewer toxins, warmer, brighter. Zrala sipped her drink, then exhaled. "It's beautiful." Ethan nodded. "But it's not enough." She turned. "What do you mean?" "We're still just in one forgotten world. We haven't reclaimed who we are until we answer that signal." He pointed to the sky. "Earth's awake. The Federation's desperate move far across the galaxy. Aboard the hidden dread fortress, Oblivion Reach, the Purge Command assembled. 12 alien species, all nervous." The hologram of Commander Erix flickered in the chamber. "You should have destroyed him when we had the chance," spat the green-skinned Krath warlord. Erix growled. "We tried. He merged too fast. The planet shielded him." A hooded figure from the Ashari Council hissed. "The core blood has activated 5 seedlings. If he reaches Earth, the chain completes. Human dominance returns. Then we must corrupt the source," said Erix coldly. He turned to a console. "Initiate protocol." A dark screen lit up. The face of a human appeared, scarred, cold eyes, black as void. "Hello again," the man said. "Been a long time since someone summoned me." Dismas, underworld lost chamber activation back. Beneath the planet's crust, Ethan and Zrala descended into a newly opened section, the planet's oldest memory vault. Massive, glass-like walls flickered with archived events. Frozen mid-motion, holograms of past humans shaping storms. Healing wounds with gestures, speaking to whales in desert seas. Zrala touched one. The projection shimmered. A boy, no older than 10, lifting boulders with a flick of his mind. His eyes glowed just like Ethan's had in the bindscape. "They were gods," she whispered. "No," Ethan said softly. "They were human. We just forgot how far we could go." He approached a massive door. This one wasn't coded by genes, it responded only to emotion. He placed his hand on it. Thought of his mother working double shifts, raising him alone, never breaking. He thought of his people, forgotten, laughed at, hunted. The door opened. Inside sat a black sphere, simple, but vibrating like a caged sun. Zrala leaned forward. "What is it?" Ethan touched it. His voice became dual-layered, echoing with memory. "The first flame. This is what they stole from us." He turned, eyes blazing gold. "It's time to give it back." The flame spreads over the next few days. Each reawakened human received a small ember from the first flame. Not literal fire, but a neural spark. Passed through Ethan's touch, unlocking deep-rooted potential. They didn't become weapons. They became builders, singers, healers, bonders. One woman, barely 20, hummed and grew a bridge of crystal across a canyon. Another man rebuilt a broken droid using only his thoughts and water vapor. Children learned languages of extinct birds. Within hours, even Zrala began to feel something, empathy linking her to Desma, as if the planet accepted her now. Ethan watched it all. "This is who we were meant to be." Zrala nodded. "But they'll come again. You know that." He smirked. "Then we won't run this time." The Federation's weapon, the forgotten one at the edge of Desma's solar field. A single ship entered silent orbit. Its surface shimmered like oil over broken glass. From its depths walked a tall, pale figure. The corrupted human, the traitor seed. He bore no name, just a designation. Vex, born from the same legacy as Ethan, but corrupted during the first purge. War captured, tortured, repurposed. Now, he was the Federation's weapon. He stepped onto Desma's sand. The planet screamed in protest. Even the roots recoiled. But he smiled. "I remember this place. The sand was warm when I helped burn it." Zrala's suspicion, Then Truthsrolla felt the change first. A sudden silence in the wind, a pulse in the ground, like Desma had flinched. She found Ethan preparing the flame-spire an ancient launch tower reawakened to reach Earth. Something's wrong, she said. Ethan's expression darkened. I feel it too. The core lit up in warning. Dark seed, detected. Ethan froze. There's another one. Zoella's eyes narrowed. And he's here. Ethan versus Vex, the legacy duel begins. The two seed-bearers faced each other near the ruins of the flame pit, the old execution site from the First Purge War. Vex smirked. You're a poet, Buildersoft. Ethan raised an eyebrow. You're a slave with fancy tricks. They didn't shout. They didn't charge. They simply thought. And the desert exploded. Sand spiraled into weaponized shapes, blades, shields, serpents. Lightning formed from nothing. Gravity twisted, flipped, returned, watched in awe and horror. They're not just warriors. They're rewriting reality. But Ethan was learning. With every blow, he adapted, remembered, balanced power with harmony. Then he saw it. Vex's corruption was a scar, not a source. Ethan didn't strike. He opened his mind. Let Vex see. The bind's cape. The flame. The truth. Vex hesitated a second, and the planet moved. A vine, ancient as time, wrapped around Vex's foot, then body, then heart. He screamed, but Ethan stepped forward. Let me heal you. The lockbreaker returns home. Final chapter, coming next. Earth had spoken, not through the radio, not through ships, but through something deeper, older. The first flame had heard the call, and Ethan Davis, the final lockbreaker, was ready to answer. 2 days later, launch platform Dismo Exithon stood atop the flame spire, now fully reawakened. The biomechanical structure pulsed like a living organism, fueled by planetary energy and psychic harmonics. It had been built during the height of humanity's reign, not to conquer stars, but to remember them. Below him, thousands stood watching, humans reborn from stasis, Federation defectors who had joined the cause, and Zrala, his alien landlady, turned comrade-in-arms. Are you sure about this? She asked, her voice low, almost hesitant. Ethan nodded. This isn't just about Disma. It's about home. I have to know what's left. Zrala looked down. You might not like what you find. I don't care. I'd rather face the truth than live in someone else's lie. She placed a clawed hand on his shoulder. Then make them remember who they erased. The final seed merged before departure. Ethan returned once more to the core. There, the preserved consciousness of the first builders waited echoes of minds from 10 millennia ago. They offered him one final gift. The merge, not just memory or power, but the full genomic restoration of humanity's lost traits, empathic thought, transmission, cellular regeneration, the ability to interface with life-based architecture by resonance with planetary fields. You will not be a god, the voice warned. You will be a reminder of what gods once feared. Ethan accepted. And when he emerged from the core, he wasn't glowing, he wasn't floating, he was simply calm. Noticed it instantly. You've changed. Ethan smiled. No, I've finally become who I was meant to be. The journey to Earth, the Flamespire, launched without fuel, no metal thrusters, no noise. It rose like thought, guided by Ethan's will. It pierced subspace and folded into slipstream corridors forgotten by time. Inside, Ethan meditated, not in silence but in sync with Earth's signal. With every light year he felt his connection grow stronger. The whisper became a voice. Come home. Meanwhile, Earth orbit, present-day Earth, was not abandoned. It was under tight Federation surveillance, disguised as a nature preserve, a relic of extinct species. But deep underground, in the old bunkers and long-buried core cradles, they waited. Humans, ancient families in cryo, artificial consciousnesses, watching the stars. And when Ethan breached Earth's atmosphere, a single alert blinked red across all hidden consoles. Lockbreaker identified. A signal echoed beneath the crust, across the oceans, through the cities, hidden under green camouflage. And from the deepest chamber beneath the ruins of old Geneva, a figure opened her eyes. Old, wise, alive. The last flame has returned. She whispered. Arrival. Earth, the hidden cradle. Lathan landed near what was once the Alps, now lush forest, reclaiming stone and memory. The moment he stepped on soil, the planet responded. Roots stirred. Leaves turned toward him. The air shimmered with recognition. He knelt. I'm home. Zrala, having followed in a secondary craft, stepped beside him. scanning her surroundings. Doesn't look like much. Ethan grinned. That's how they kept it safe. A mountain slope shifted. Revealed beneath was a doorway of stone and light. A human woman stepped forward, tall, silver-haired, eyes glowing faintly. Ethan Davis, she said, you carry the flame. He bowed his head. I carry our truth. The final Federation stand in orbit. The last remaining Purge fleet hovered. Inside its command deck, the corrupted Federation Council screamed orders. Fire on the cradle. Destroy the seed. But nothing happened. Their systems were jammed. Inside every ship, consoles flickered. Circuits twisted. Roots burst through metal. Seeds planted by core builders millennia ago had awakened. The fleets began to fall peacefully, crashing like birds into oceans, forests, deserts. No explosions, no war. Just surrender. Reunion. Athens stood inside the cradle of the first flame, surrounded by elders who had waited lifetimes in cold stasis for this moment. One elder, an ancient man with glowing tattoos, stepped forward. I knew your bloodline would endure, he said. You are not just a survivor. You are our answer. Ethan turned to Corolla. She believed in me when no one else did. She screamed at me for being strange, but stayed when things got stranger. Zerala raised an eyebrow. Are you going to quote me in history books now? He smiled. Might even carve your name into a mountain. She punched him lightly. Just spell it right. The final message at Earth's pole, using the reactivated planetary antenna system, Ethan sent a message into the galactic web. We are humanity. We were not destroyed. We were hidden, forgotten. Now we remember. We come not to conquer. We come to build. Those who fear us fear only their own ignorance. We offer peace, but we will not kneel again. Zola's last question. They stood on a ridge, watching Earth's old cities slowly come alive, biostructures uncoiling, old tech humming again. Zerala looked at Ethan. So, what happens now? Ethan inhaled deeply. The planet hummed beneath him. Now, we show the galaxy what it really means to be human. Final scene. A lesson in the Sonda. Small alien child somewhere in a remote start system looked up at a hologram of Earth. Her teacher, a robotic historian, spoke. Long ago, humans were feared, forgotten, hidden away. The child raised a hand. Why? Were they monsters? The teacher paused, then smiled. No, they were mirrors. They showed us what we could become if we stopped fearing ourselves. The end.